So some of the leadership qualities that we find to be a good attribute, the first one that we wanted to talk about a little bit that I find personally is somebody that's a good listener, a manager that not only can lead, but also takes the time to listen to others, to value their opinion, makes the employee or the follower feel valued, feel like they're worth something. And I feel that goes so long and so much further than just somebody that's a dictator, that's an authoritarian, that just sits there and tells them this is how it's done, this is what I want to do. But when you get that feedback with one another, you can go a lot further, especially as a leader. You get a lot more success that way.
I definitely agree. Again,
keep doing it. Go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, I definitely agree that listening is a huge benefit for a group. If the leader's not listening to the group members and they just shoot out commands all the time without taking the feedback to make adjustments where necessary, because sometimes people do have better ideas than you do, leader or not. I think they get a lot further and they're able to just achieve more that way. And then you mentioned also the whole dictatorship thing. I think a good leader doesn't just bark out orders and delegate tasks. I think that they get down and dirty too and work alongside their followers, so they're not held up on that pedestal all the time.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think along the same line as Susie, I think a leader is one who motivates and encourages, the people, the followers, the people that he needs to supervise. Like, for example, with my company, I feel like in our groups, there are a lot of goals that are set, but then once we meet them, we kind of hit a wall. It's like, okay, well, what's next? And you depend on this leader. You depend on his motivation and his encouragement, to continue setting those goals so that even when we do hit a wall, there's always something to look forward to. Like, for example, even hiring within the organization, you want to allow your employees to continue moving and prospering and moving forward and looking to something bigger and better. And I think that for a leader to be able to enable their employees to do that, it requires that motivation and that encouragement to continue setting those goals.
Absolutely, Lorena. Just like the book said, with being a leader, you have to have the skills, the abilities to be able to do the problem solving, to be able to fix the tasks. Just like you also said, the motivation has to be there. You have to be motivated to want to strive for the best, just like they did in the book with the Costco example with the founder, the CEO of Costco. And he had the personality where he went to every single store, he went to every single opening, and then he even just had just his name tag on. He was the leader follower, where he actually got in down and dirty, like you said, with the rest of the employees. He didn't think he was above anybody else. He was right there with them.
I completely agree. And to expand on something all of you guys have mentioned, I mean, the book even mentioned in chapter 3, the path goal theory, and one of the leadership styles of being supportive. And to me, having a supportive leader is above all the most important. You want someone who's going to be there for you no matter what, and someone who is going to help you both professionally and personally to grow and develop from there. And I think that's one of the key things to me that is important as a leader, and is actually one of the reasons I chose the leader I did for my interview, because she has always been a developmental leader. She wants to push that in all of her coworkers, and I think that's a key part of being a good leader.
Definitely. I think as a leader, I think one of the biggest things to understand, and it kind of ties in with everything, is to understand that everybody has a different skill set. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different experiences. Our job resumes don't look all the same. So at the end of the day, even though I may have got that promotion and I might be the manager, the leader in the work environment, it's still important for me to get down with the troops and get down and dirty and understand that Ryan has a skill set, Lorena has a skill set. Everybody's got a skill set that we can pull together. And when we work together, our goals become that much more important, because it's not just me telling you what the goal is and trying to get there. It's everybody's got that voice in what the goal is in the long run. And it makes us want to get there. It makes us want to hit that goal because we all have a part in it. It all means something personal to us. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned personally as a leader, is that everybody's different. I might possess a strong skill set in one area, communication or whatever, where somebody else has a strong skill set in something else.
I think a really big thing that ties into that too is if a leader is recognizing the different skill sets, then they're better able to delegate the different tasks to the appropriate person, rather than giving somebody who's really strong in, say, I don't know, not strong in communication, but they want them to give a public presentation, you know? I think that just makes for a better overall team at the end of the day.
Additionally, I think sharing the knowledge is really important too. You know, similar to what Doug was saying, you know, realizing and recognizing that everybody comes from different backgrounds, different ways of, you know, growing up, and even ethics. You know, you involve that into any business, and everyone has a different view of the way things should be done, of the way people should be treated. But I think sharing knowledge is probably a really vital thing too, that you don't see a lot of leaders do that. And the ones that do that are the ones that are usually pretty successful. And that's because they are people that don't want to hold all that knowledge, you know, they don't want to hold it to the vest. And on the contrary, they want to share it with everybody. So, you know, the more you disperse your knowledge, the more you can help out everybody in the group and help everyone just succeed.
Keeps everybody on the same page too, and not asking questions that some people know the answer to already.
Absolutely. I think it definitely takes, that's what I think a good leader is definitely somebody who takes both a democratic approach along with the, what is it, what was the first one?
Authoritarian.
Authoritarian, yeah. Takes both. He's in there, but then he also wants everybody's opinion and lets everybody else say, exactly like you were saying with the communication, and who's the best at, let them give a chance to tell them who's good at what skills, so that way we get the best final product.
I completely agree. And I, you know, going to those three different styles of leadership, the democratic, authoritarian, I have a hard time saying that too, and laissez-faire, those three, we know those. It's really hard to discern, you know, this is the certain one that is the best leader. To me, it's a good leader is a mix of kind of all of them, kind of a situational based leader who uses a different style for different situations, different people, different goals. But it is definitely hard to decide exactly which one is the best to choose. I mean, I like authoritarian when I have a task-oriented goal, but democratic's good for relationship building and things like that. So it's definitely hard to pick from those three, I think. What do you guys think?
I think it depends a lot on the specific organization too, and the culture there overall, not just the group or team that's within that organization. Like, each team's going to have their own culture too, obviously. But yeah, I think being able to adapt and use the different skills and benefits of all of the groups or types of leadership is really where you find the most effective leaders.
Yeah, you know, even reading the text, even the laissez-faire type of leadership communication, like when I was going down the list of all of the different ways that that style of leadership can be communicated, I was thinking to myself, like, I don't think I would ever be able to work, you know, effectively with a leader of that kind. But then I was looking at some of the descriptions, like being able to allow your followers to have free reign to set your own goals. I guess it just depends on the circumstance and the kind of project that you're also dealing with. Because I mean, if, for example, you've got a programmer who sits at a cube for, you know, endless hours, and they need to set their own goals once they achieve, you know, whatever it is, the project that they're working on. I mean, I guess it can work. It just depends on you know, your job and your skills and I guess really your background and what it is, what kind of project you're working on.
Exactly.
Definitely. It's like that's the type of job that I just was working at. It's, yeah, I get a schedule, but it's up to me to decide how much I want to do, how much my financial goal is for the day to be able to meet it. It's a completely commission-based company. So it was all up to me. It's not my boss wasn't telling me you have to make X, Y, and Z a day, because it didn't matter to him. It mattered in the long run how many jobs I completed. But for me personally, he completely took a 100% pretty much hands-off approach. And it was, you make as much as you want to make, and that's completely up to you. So I think I think a good leader honestly takes a little bit from everything. I think there's situations that being an authority figure and telling them this is what needs to be done, this is the deadline, this is what we need to do, but then also taking the democratic kind of approach and getting their feedback. And then other times not micromanaging, because that's when I think the laissez-faire is just kind of somebody that's complete 100% opposite of being a micromanager. And a micromanager drives me nuts. That is absolutely probably one of the worst traits somebody can have, is when they're over my shoulder 100% of the time, in my ear, wanting to know every little period I hit, every time I hit enter, every email I send. It's like, just let me do my job. You hired me for a reason. You trust me for a reason. Let me do my job. Don't be in my ear. Don't be in everything that I do, because it just drives me nuts and gives me really bad anxiety. So I don't know, maybe we can talk about a few of the traits that we don't find as positive, since we've kind of established the grounds of what we find as good traits. Maybe we can talk for a couple minutes here, some of the bad traits that we don't like to see in a leader.
Definitely agree with you on the micromanaging. Most of my managers in the past have been just like that. And the thing I find funny about it is they think they're helping, but when I've got somebody on my shoulder and on my case all the time, I'm actually more anxious and prone to make mistakes and do things wrong than if you would just let me do things, you know, at my own pace and let you know when they're done.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I actually work for a company currently that subservices mortgages, and if I'm notating for too long after a conversation that I had, I have somebody that is IMing me saying, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you not busy at this next project? You've been notating for 2 minutes. What's going on with this?" That is absolutely slows me down, because now I have to take time to respond to them, to my leader, to actually tell them, oh, well, this is what was going on. It was an in-depth situation. We need to have this going. I need to have this notated properly. So
I agree with, I'll go ahead, Lorena.
I was gonna say, I guess I've been really blessed and lucky. I haven't actually encountered any leadership that has displayed any type of you know, like micromanaging. But I did have a supervisor who was very intemperate, and you know, just his lack of self-control and just being really aggressive with the employees if something didn't go his way. It was for a construction company that I worked for when I was really young, and I mean, this guy would just come. I was doing accounting for them for a while, and he would come over and just, you know, drop documentation on our desks and say, you know, this is incorrect. Wouldn't give exact excuse me, exact descriptions of what was incorrect, but it almost felt like because he knew he was the boss, he felt he had the authority to kind of put, you know, talk down on people. And I just thought, like, wow, like, you know, what a bad person. I don't know, but for some reason, every time that, you know, other management came to the office, I mean, they praised him all the time. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if you only knew the way that he treats his employees. But anyway, I was really young at the time, so and it was for a short tenure. But yeah, that was probably one of the worst characteristics that I can reflect on working for somebody.
I have to say, I think that, you know, what we perceive as bad traits versus good traits, I think that also has to do with our personal leadership styles. Like, for example, for task versus interpersonal leadership, to me, I am a very task-oriented person, so it bothers me when someone places a higher importance on a relationship with an employee rather than on this great achievement that I just did. I just did this amazing task, but I'm not really close with my boss, but you're not praising me for that. So I think it also is based on perception of what we feel should be a leadership style and what our personal leadership styles are as well.
Definitely. I also think one of the more negative things that a leader can do is fail to praise when praise is due, and always and only give, you know, critical feedback or tell you when you're doing something wrong, how to do something differently. I think that that really depletes a person and a team's morale, and doesn't definitely not excite anybody to work towards a common vision. So.
Completely agree with you there. I think common vision is a huge part of it. I think a true leader gets everyone together to focus on a common vision, a common goal, and work towards that. I think that's a big part of being a good, effective leader as well.
Right. Yeah, they get you excited about the common vision and eager to work through those common goals to make that vision a reality.
Exactly.
So I think overall, I think we've hit on quality points for being a good leader, being a bad leader, things that we hopefully ourselves don't portray. But I think overall, we've had a great discussion about things that are positive, things that are negative, and hopefully we can continue to learn throughout the duration of the course and be able to continue to give each other feedback and become a better leader ourselves. So thank you guys for your input. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.